My family excluded me from my brother's engagement party, saying, "It's not really a party, just a small dinner with family. There's no need to come down for it." I found out they rented a restaurant for 80 guests and told everyone I couldn't make it. What they didn't know was that I'm a senior data analyst earning $127,000 annually with complete financial independence, and their systematic exclusion had just triggered a calculated response that would cost them far more than they ever imagined. I'm Marcus, 28, and I have a twin brother, Jake, who lives in Arizona while I've built my career in Portland. After graduating with a specialized master's degree in predictive analytics, I landed a position at a Fortune 500 company where rapid advancement is possible for those who understand data patterns and strategic planning. My analytical mindset, which my family always dismissed as overthinking everything, had actually become my greatest professional asset and personal weapon. The engagement party exclusion wasn't an isolated incident. It was the culmination of a year-long pattern of deliberate marginalization that I had been systematically documenting. As someone trained to identify trends and anomalies in complex data sets, I immediately recognized the behavioral patterns emerging in my family dynamics. My mother's increasingly passive-aggressive comments about my big city life, my siblings' failure to return calls, and the subtle but measurable decrease in family communication had all been carefully tracked in a personal log I maintained. What my family failed to understand was that their attempts to punish me for achieving independence had been happening to someone with the analytical skills to predict their next moves and the financial resources to respond strategically. My $127,000 salary, combined with aggressive saving and investment strategies I'd learned through my finance-focused professional network, had given me a level of economic leverage they couldn't comprehend. While they still struggled with basic monthly expenses, I maintained a six-figure emergency fund. I had been quietly subsidizing their lifestyle through gifts that I could terminate at will. The financial dynamics strongly favored my position in ways they hadn't calculated. For the past 3 years, I had been covering my parents' internet service at $89 per month, their Disney Plus subscription at $14 per month, and making regular emergency contributions when they needed car repairs, home maintenance, or help with medical bills. My conservative estimate put my annual family subsidies at approximately $8,400, not including the larger gifts. This included the $3,200 I contributed to Jake's kitchen renovation and the $2,800 I provided when my father was unemployed during COVID. My professional network included attorneys specializing in family law, financial advisors who understood wealth management strategies, and executive-level colleagues who had dealt with similar family manipulation tactics. Through my work connections, I had access to resources for documentation, legal consultation, and strategic planning that my family assumed I couldn't afford or wouldn't use against them. The most critical advantage they overlooked was my systematic approach to relationship management. Every family interaction, every financial transaction, and every incident of disrespectful treatment had been documented with the same precision I applied to analyzing corporate data sets. I maintained detailed records of dates, amounts, witnesses present, and specific quotes because my professional training had taught me that patterns become actionable when properly documented. When my aunt texted that she was disappointed I couldn't make time for the engagement party, I realized they had crafted an elaborate lie about my absence. My immediate response was to deploy a strategic communication plan designed to expose the truth while maintaining professional composure. I replied simply that I would have happily attended, but I wasn't invited. This single message created the first crack in their narrative control, the revelation that they had rented an entire restaurant for 80 guests while telling me it was just a small family dinner provided concrete evidence of deliberate deception. As a data analyst, I understood that this level of coordinated lying required advanced planning and multiple participants, indicating a systematic campaign rather than miscommunication. The mathematical impossibility of 80 guests constituting a small family dinner, while I was the only excluded family member, demonstrated clear intent to isolate me. Within 48 hours of my aunt's message, I had implemented a comprehensive information gathering strategy. Through my professional training and stakeholder analysis, I identified which family members were information sources versus active participants in the exclusion campaign. My conversations with extended family revealed that everyone had been told I was too busy to attend, but no one had been told I was actually uninvited. The strategic error my family made was underestimating my ability to conduct damage analysis and implement countermeasures. Using the same systematic approach I employed for corporate crisis management, I began documenting the full scope of their deception while simultaneously preparing multiple response scenarios. My professional experience had taught me that effective strategy requires gathering complete information before taking action. My first strategic intervention was to terminate all financial subsidies immediately. The day after discovering the engagement party lie, I canceled the automatic payments for their internet and streaming services, totaling $103 monthly in recurring charges. This wasn't petty revenge. It was a calculated signal that their assumption of continued financial support, despite systematic disrespect, was fundamentally flawed. The psychological impact of losing services they had taken for granted was immediate and measurable. Within 72 hours, I received 3 separate text messages from different family members asking about the canceled subscriptions. Their assumption that these services would continue indefinitely, regardless of their treatment of me, demonstrated the level of entitlement I was dealing with and validated my decision to establish firm financial boundaries. My mother's response to the service cancellations revealed the true nature of her manipulation strategy. She texted from my father's phone, "I hope this made you feel big," which provided perfect documentation of her mindset. Her assumption that establishing boundaries was about feeling superior rather than protecting myself from exploitation showed how completely she misunderstood both my motivations and my capabilities. The wedding invitation, when it arrived 9 months later, represented another strategic opportunity to demonstrate the consequences of their systematic exclusion campaign. My analytical review of the invitation details revealed additional calculated insults. No role in the wedding party despite being the twin brother. No +1 for my girlfriend of over a year. Meanwhile, my sister received a +1 for a casual relationship partner. Rather than responding emotionally, I implemented a strategic non-response protocol designed to force them into reactive decision-making. By neither RSVPing nor communicating my intentions, I maintained information control while creating uncertainty about my attendance. This approach, drawn from negotiation strategies I had learned through professional development, put pressure on them to reveal their true priorities. The wedding day phone calls, starting 1 hour before the ceremony, provided perfect validation of my strategic analysis. My mother's screaming, "Where the hell are you?" confirmed that despite their systematic exclusion, they still expected me to accommodate their needs without reciprocal respect. My calculated response, "In Portland, where you all prefer me to be," delivered maximum impact while maintaining professional composure. My final statement to my mother during that call, "It's just a party. It's no big deal, right?" used their own dismissive language about the engagement party to demonstrate the logical consequences of their position. This strategic use of their previous statements created cognitive dissonance while avoiding direct confrontation, a technique I had learned through management training. The aftermath of my wedding absence generated exactly the social pressure I had anticipated. Extended family members who had been told I was too busy to attend family events now had concrete evidence that something more complex was occurring. The contradiction between my reputation as someone who always comes to everything and my conspicuous absence created questions that my immediate family couldn't answer without revealing their systematic exclusion campaign. My aunt and uncle's investigation into the family dynamics, prompted by my strategic communication, uncovered the full extent of my mother's manipulation campaign. Their report that she had been making passive-aggressive comments about my success for years, calling my frequent visits, flaunting wealth, and my financial gifts evidence of showing off, provided comprehensive documentation of her psychological warfare tactics. The discovery that my mother had poisoned my siblings against me through years of subtle manipulation explained the systematic nature of my exclusion. Her strategy of portraying my independence as rejection of family values had successfully turned my siblings into co-conspirators in my marginalization. However, Her overconfidence in this manipulation had not accounted for independent verification through extended family members who remained objective. Jake's eventual confession during his honeymoon call provided the final piece of evidence I needed to understand the full scope of the conspiracy. His admission that he didn't invite me to the engagement party because Mom told him not to, and his description of choosing the version where the storm happened to you instead documented both his awareness of the injustice and his deliberate participation in it. The screenshots Jake's wife provided through Instagram revealed the systematic planning behind my exclusion. The family group chat messages showing my mother's statement. "We'll do a small family dinner, and by family, I mean the family that stayed," provided written evidence of premeditated deception. Her additional comment, "I won't have my own son waltzing in from Portland and making this night about him," demonstrated clear intent to exclude me specifically. The most damaging evidence was my mother's instruction to Jake. "Don't tell him the date. He'll book a flight. He always does. You'll never learn to do a celebration without him unless we make you." This message provided undeniable proof that my exclusion was designed as a punishment for my independence and a manipulation tactic to control Jake's behavior. My strategic response to these revelations was to maintain complete, no-contact boundaries while allowing the truth to spread through family networks naturally. By refusing to engage in defensive explanations or emotional confrontations, I forced them to confront the consequences of their actions without giving them targets for counter-manipulation. The financial impact of my boundary enforcement exceeded my projections. Beyond the $103 monthly in canceled services, my withdrawal of emergency financial support meant they could no longer rely on my interventions during crisis situations. When their next car repair or medical emergency occurred, they would face the full financial impact without my subsidies, forcing them to confront the real cost of their systematic disrespect. The social consequences proved even more effective than financial pressure. Extended family members' growing awareness of the truth created reputation damage that my immediate family couldn't control through their usual manipulation tactics. My aunt's public correction on social media, stating that I wasn't invited to the first thing and then didn't invite himself to the second, provided third-party validation that neutralized their narrative control. My father's eventual outreach through his work email, requesting to hear my side without interruption, represented the first crack in their unified front. His acknowledgement that he had failed to stop what occurred, and his willingness to engage in video calls without my mother's participation, demonstrated that the family coalition was beginning to fracture under the weight of sustained consequences. The comprehensive apology Jake's wife provided, including detailed documentation of the manipulation campaign, validated every strategic decision I had made. Her confession that staying quiet was easier than living with your mom being mad and planning to destroy your wedding revealed the extent of my mother's control tactics and explained why other family members had participated in my exclusion. Jake's decision to publicly admit his deception in the family group chat, writing that he lied about why my brother wasn't at the engagement party and that I was asking to be included right up until the day, provided the social vindication I had strategically positioned myself to receive. His statement that he was choosing to say this where everyone can see it because he lied where everyone could hear it demonstrated that the truth was finally being told by the primary participants. The immediate family fragmentation following Jake's confession, with my mother leaving the original group chat and creating a new one, excluding both me and Jake's wife, showed that their manipulation system could not survive transparency. The systematic exclusion campaign that had operated through secrecy and collaborative deception collapsed when subjected to honest communication. My strategic victory was complete when family members began acknowledging the injustice independently. My cousin's text, "I'm sorry I didn't ask you directly, that's on me," and my grandmother's voicemail saying she loves both her tall boys and is too old to do secrets, provided the social rehabilitation I had positioned myself to receive through patient, professional boundary enforcement. The ultimate validation came through restored relationships with family members who had been deceived about my involvement. Jake's visit to Portland, my father's independent decision to maintain contact despite my mother's objections, and the extended family's recognition of my mother's manipulation tactics demonstrated that truth-based relationships were possible when systematic deception was eliminated. Today, my financial independence remains intact, and my professional reputation has been enhanced rather than damaged by the family conflict. My strategic approach of maintaining boundaries while allowing truth to emerge naturally has resulted in relationships based on genuine respect rather than manipulation and financial dependence. The family members who chose truth over manipulation have been retained, while those who preferred deception have been naturally filtered out through their own choices. The most satisfying outcome is that my mother's attempt to teach me that family doesn't run on my terms resulted in her learning that respect-based relationships actually do run on mutual terms, and manipulation tactics eventually fail when applied to people with sufficient resources and strategic thinking skills to resist them effectively.